What's up, everybody? It's D to the J with the roll away, and we are live on New Choice Radio and on Facebook Live for another exciting episode at 7 p.m. of My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 166. No, I'm not going to pick up sticks because I'm not going to bend down that far, and that's the way the story goes. Um, Today I wanted to do something kind of special, and it's a kind of a two-parter. So we may do the first hour today and the next hour on what I want to do next Wednesday, and bring it into a two-part show. But what I want to talk about today is for us or for anyone who has a problem. When I say this, it's okay. I always say it's okay to ask for help, which everybody needs some help sometime, somewhere, some way, some shape, some form. But the big question on my mind is there a such thing as too much help? Now, I want to break this down a little bit, okay? I'm going to go into a portion of my past, which I'm not sure if I've shared this on air or not. I may have, but I know I haven't gone into it extensively. When I was little and when I had CP, dressing for me was difficult. My mom would help me, and I. But when I got to a certain age, she started letting me figure things out for myself. She started letting me try to put my own shirt on, letting me try ways to pull up my jeans, to learn to put my socks on. And I would cry and I would get frustrated. And because I would cry and get frustrated, she would help me. But there was a point where my mom realized, listen, my son has got to figure out this on his own. He's got to figure out what he's doing on his own. And me helping him is not so much of a great thing. And if I don't let him try and I don't let him independently figure it out, what's it going to do to him in his later years? So mom would say, you can do it. She would encourage me, and she would go out on the front porch and sit there, and she would get upset because I was struggling, but then I couldn't see her get upset. So I would calm down, and I eventually got to the point where I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. So what I did was I learned how to pull my shirt over my head, put one sleeve in, put the other sleeve in, wiggle, 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 wiggle till the back of the shirt went down. Or I'd go outside with it curled up in a little knot, and mom would pull the back down if I couldn't get the back down. But I soon learned to dress myself, and it took time. It was hard. It was a struggle. But is there a such thing as too much help? When it comes to life and cerebral palsy or any problem or any disability that you face, to me, there is a such thing as too much. Because if you have everyone do everything for you, if you can do it on your own, and let me make this perfectly clear, there are people that need 24-hour care and help with everything, and I understand that. But I believe that even in that 24-hour care moment, there are some things that they can do on their own. Mm-hmm. And when you give a person, whether they're a child or a teen or an adult independence for themselves, that in a way is going to build them up. Now, there's nothing wrong with helping. There's nothing wrong with, you see them struggle and with the one side of the jacket, because normally with cerebral palsy, there's a dominant side and a weaker side. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of an internet glitch, and now we're back on the air. Missed about 3 minutes there, but what we were talking about, welcome to the show as you come in. Apologize for the internet issues. Not really sure what happened there. Internet froze up. Now we're back again. Going in for round 2, episode 166 of My CP Does Not Define Me. We're talking about the issue of, is there such thing as too much help? We're live on New Choice Radio. That's nuchoice.com, radio.com. Thank you for those who are coming into the show right now. Do us a favor, leave us a comment. Let us know who you are. Let us know where you're from. If it's your first time watching, feel free to leave a comment. So we were talking about when I was growing up, I had to, when I was little, one of the things with cerebral palsy, one of the challenges that I faced was dressing myself, learning how to dress myself. My mom would help me get dressed. And there was a point where she realized, look, DJ's starting to get older now. I have to let him try things on his own. He's going to have to learn on his own. And I can't help him all the time. I've got to let him try on his own. So I would cry and get frustrated and get mad. I can't do it. Hey, Christy, how are you? Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And I would get angry and get upset. And I would, what am I going to do? I can't do it. And my mom would encourage me, and she would say, you can do it. I'm going to go outside while you work on it, while you figure it out. You take your time. You go through. You figure it out. You can do it. and I would cry and get mad, and she would go out on the front steps of our porch and release her emotion, but I would never see her get mad because I would calm down eventually and stop my tantrum and say, okay, I've got to figure this out. You know, it is a point where you've got to look at it and say, okay, everybody can do something on their own. Even people that need 24-hour care can do some things on their own. I don't mind helping, and I agree that help should be there, but I agree a person should have the right to their own independence to try to do something for themselves, and some of that can be taken away if everything is done for them. Now, like I said, if they need help with it, and I know it's hard to do, you know, that can be a thing. Hard to help yourself when all you do is care for everyone else, regardless of how you feel. But I also know I am a sinking ship and cannot help anyone. You know, that's not the Elizabeth I know. I don't know what's going on, but you've been a good friend in my life for a long time. And yeah, I mean, there is a time where you have to care about yourself and help yourself instead of others, because you can't help, if you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody else. So I understand where you're coming from there. But just to kind of to go from where, you know, because I don't want to get off track with what I'm saying, for a person to lose their independence, regardless of what disability you face, regardless of what problems you face, life's going to throw curveballs every day. Some of them you're going to be ready for, some of them you're not. I titled this, Is There a Such Thing as Too Much Help?
Yes.
I believe that to a point, because if you've got everybody trying to help you, you've got, in my opinion, you've got too many hands in the cookie jar. Because by that time, then you start getting opinions of how things should be done. You start getting, you know, and one thing I love, I'll give you a prime example. My mom, when I was moving into my new apartment, one of the things she would do when we were unpacking boxes for the kitchen, she would ask a question like this: would you like me to sit this here? Where is this most comfortable for you? She wouldn't just put it somewhere and say, try this. When I come in and when I'm moving, hey, Christine, how are you? When I come in and I'm moving and I have a certain way that I like things in a certain spot. When it gets moved from that certain spot, I get irritated because it was there. I know where it is. I know where it's been. And all of a sudden it gets moved because somebody forgets to put it back. Now, that's where I need help, because when I lose something, I'm like, oh man, I got to find it. I got to get it. I don't know where it is. So the other day we were looking for my keys, and I'm freaking out because we got somewhere to go, and I'm looking all over the place, looking in baskets, looking in the bedroom, looking, opening the door, thinking we stuck them in the door, can't figure out where they are, calling Kim, calling Marshall, trying to figure out, and all of a sudden I turn around, and right in front of my face, literally right in front of my face, my keys are hanging on the hook. And I'm like, man, you know, you talk about, so you waste all that energy trying to find something and it's literally right there. Elizabeth, do me a favor, and if you would message me privately after the show, I'd love to talk with you. And we can, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. I don't mind. I would love to talk to you off air and see if I can help out a little bit, or maybe give some words of encouragement. But just message me after the show and we'll talk a little bit. if you'd like to. But I'm there for you if you'd like to. But I want to, kind of, when you look at life, we're all going to have hurdles that we go over. We have to learn to feed ourselves. We have to learn to dress ourselves. We have to learn to crawl before we can walk, before we can run, yada, yada, yada. Now, crawling for me was how I got around. I crawled on my own two knees until I was like 16. That was my mode of transportation, man. If I could have calculated the miles that I crawled around, I would have been, like I would have been a Goodyear tire basically, because I would have had about probably 10 to 20,000 miles on my knees from infancy to where I was, within 16. But the things that I struggled with, I didn't learn to tie my shoes until I was 12. It was hard. The coordination was there. But the help that I had, step 1, make the cross. Step 2, pull it over. Step 3, make the bow. Go around your thumb. Pull the string through. You have to, sometimes you got to break the problem down. And yeah, you want the help to be there, but there can be so many people telling you so many different ways of how to do something and how to, try it this way. And ideas are great, but sometimes it's better to stick with one way, try that. And if it doesn't work for you, then you decide what way works best. If you want to change your way, you change it. And I've said this in shows earlier, everybody's journey is their own journey. What works for me may not work for you. I had a problem with buttons and snaps and hooks and, oh God, I love Velcro. The invention of Velcro for me, when I had Velcro shoes, I was like, yeah, baby, I got Velcro shoes. Now I don't have to worry about laces. But in a way, that hindered me because I got the Velcro shoes. I wasn't distracted with trying to learn to tie them. And I noticed that all the Velcro shoes looked kind of funky, and I wanted those nice shoes with the nice designs. They had laces. So I had to learn to tie them. So I sat down one day for 4 hours and I just worked it and knotted about 20 pairs of shoes and unknotted them and tried again and got frustrated and threw shoes up against the wall and says, I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't do it. Mom would come in, show me how to do it. I'd get it a little bit. I'd get frustrated and just keep going. So finally, I got it. And once I got it, the feeling that I got from learning to do that, from learning to be the person that I wanted to be at that time, and from mounting that hurdle, that was a huge sacrifice. That was a huge push. And those things should be celebrated. Learning to button your jeans or zip your zipper or snap your coat or cook an egg for the first time. Those things should be celebrated. When you do something on your own and you get that independence and you get that reaction of, wow, I did it, I can do this. And you realize, well, you know what? I didn't need as much help as I thought. Now here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with getting help, but if you have someone there every step of every way to help you, how are you going to learn and going to figure it out on your own? So there has to be a kind of a point where you break away and say, look, all right, you've shown me how to do this. We've gone through it. We've done it. Let me try and do it on my own. I remember being in college and working in graphic design and going through this. I was working with Adobe 10 back in 2001 to show how old I am. And, I look at it and I go, oh, man. And the book had what I like about Adobe was the book had step-by-step instructions. And I was a person that I like to jump ahead. I got this, no problem. I figured it out. Okay, I know how to do it. And then when when something wouldn't work out, I would freak. Man, come on! I did that. I did it exactly as I said. And then I'd call my teacher and be like, Miss Brown, I can't figure this out. And she said, all right, you and your can't. Let's go back and backtrack and figure it out. And she'd go, start right here. And I'd go, wait, that's step one. I did that already. She goes, do it again. And the funny thing about Miss Brown, I loved her so much. She was one of the most amazing teachers I had, in the fact that she could make me laugh with just a smile and go, okay, we're going to figure this out together. Maybe you missed a step. I said, Miss Brown, I didn't miss a step. And then when I found the step I missed, I go, I did that. She goes, no, you didn't. Because if you would have did it, it would have worked. And she goes, you know why I know? Because I've been in here doing the project the same way you guys have, and all my steps work. So I realized that I rushed. And I'll tell you what happens. Step one, click the selection tool. Well, the selection tool is over here on this panel. And if you don't click it, and you just highlight it, and you think you click it, you haven't selected. And then once you select it, take the selection tool, draw a square. Whoop, draw your square. Your square comes up. You see your square. Change your square color to black. Open the color panel. And it seems monotonous because you're reading 700 steps. But see, here's the thing. When you're working on a project, steps like that are important, because if you miss step 659 and jump to step 703, you done messed the whole project up and don't even know it. So I started assuming what the book was going to tell me. And instead of select the selection tool, the book said grab the selection tool. And I went, okay, I didn't read that. She looked at me, she patted me on the shoulder, she goes, you skipped it, didn't you? I go, I thought I was going to say select. And she looks at the book and she goes, DJ thought you were going to say select. You're an evil piece of writing. You should say select when you're going to say select. And I go, Miss Brown, books can't talk. She looks at me and go, really? I'm like, thank you, Miss Brown. I'll take it from here. So, you have those people in your life that are able to help you. But when you misstep, it's okay. Because with a project like that, sometimes you have to start again. And when you have 5,160 steps, you got to start with step one. And I was working on something. I'm working on a new intro from ICP Does Not Define Me. And I'm working on a new outro, and I'm working on a new sign. But I'm working with CS6, which is the Master Suite collection. And I've never worked with that before that much. And I'm having to go to my friend that knows how to do it. And he's having to help me. And I'm having to learn layering and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, God, I feel like I'm back in school again. And I'm trying to get it to do what I want it to do. And it won't do it. And I want to yell at it. And I'm going, it's just a computer screen. It can't hear you. Try to step again. But I don't have the steps in front of me like the book says. This one I have to figure out on my own, which is much harder to do. So understand that life itself is going to get hard. And you're going to have those moments where it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like you can get through. You just want to call somebody else and have them do it for you. But once you figure it out and you accomplish what you want to accomplish, see, here's the thing about this. No one can take that away from you. When you feed yourself for the first time, or you put your shoes on for the first time, or you dress yourself for the first time, or you make that dish that you've been trying to make and it turns out the way that you wanted to turn out, no one can take that away from you. That is your accomplishment. And you did that, and you should be happy for it. I used to play a game back in the 90s. It was a popular game on Super Nintendo, very valuable, called Earthbound. And I remember when I beat the game for the first time, it took me 6 months to beat it. And I remember when I beat the game for the first time, I dropped the controller, my mouth hit the table, and I was like, oh, I finally beat the game. And I look at it, and I've played the game hundreds of times since then and beaten it. But I look at it and I say, I did that. Nobody helped me. I did it. I figured it out on my own. And I think that as a community, when we have a person with a disability, a person who's blind, a person who has one arm, I will tell you right now, one of my friends that I respect a lot, I was in karate with for a while, named Mike Smith. He has one arm. He lost his arm in a motorcycle accident, and some of the things that he does with one arm, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do that with two arms. How in the world did you just lift that box with your knee, your face, and one arm? Like I'm looking to see if there's some robotic entrails popping out somewhere helping him out. And he's like, man, I had to adapt to my own journey. And adaptation is okay. Change is okay. I struggle with change a lot because I like things as they are. I get up, I get dressed, I do my business, I take a shower, I clean, and I go change, and then I start my day and I make my breakfast. But there are changes in life, and for some people, change is a struggle because when change happens, they're not ready for it. It's like, man, now I got to get up 45 minutes earlier. Now I got to do this different, and I got to go here, and I got to go to this place. And when we got Kim's ID, we had to get her birth certificate, and it took us forever to get the thing because we had to go and she had to ask our family member for help, and it really to help her. And I tried and I couldn't find it, and then the family member found it and helped, and we got it. And it was like, man, but again, sometimes you need help with a situation. But in life, there's not always the option of everybody being there for you through the struggle. And if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. And I know you're looking at it going, oh, well, what in the world are you talking about, man? Make me stronger? How? There's got to be a point where you realize if the project is too big, there's got to be a point where you step back and you go, okay, why am I having trouble with this? Where is the trouble coming from? I'm struggling with step 26. All right, let's back up to step 24. Let's back up to step 23. Let's back up to step 22. Sometimes you've got to cross-check yourself and what you're doing to make it happen. And sometimes you can hear the same thing. Press the button, hold the controller, press up. Press the button, hold the controller, press up. But when somebody says, press up on the controller, hold that down, and then press the button, it's a different way of saying it, but it's the same thing, and somebody gets it. See, sometimes it's the explanation of what you're trying to do. It gets too complicated. Sometimes you've got to simplify where you are, and what you're doing. I hated math. I when the numbers lined up on paper, they made no sense. I could add, subtract, multiply, divide, no problem. But when it got to fractions and it got to common denominators and equations and this, that, and the other, the math problem looked this big. I had a teacher in high school that taught me how to do math verbally by literally writing an equation on the board. And I go, but that's the same equation on paper. And Miss Wesner would go, okay, watch this. She took a piece of printer paper and she would tape it to one side of the equation. And I couldn't see that one side of the equation. And she goes, all right, now let's work with this right here. Don't even look at that. But it's there. It's there. I have to. No. Let's work right here. Let's look at this part of the problem first. Then, once we solve one, we'll go to two. And she taught me how to break down quadratic equations, which is a multi-step equation, and to do things in multiple steps. And as I went through college and I went through graphic design, that principle of take a step back, let's look at one side, cover the other side up, let me worry about this. Once I do that, then I can come over here and worry about the other side. Because with equations, one of the things that I learned is what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And you end up learning how to make a problem go from this big to this big. A lot of the problem is ourselves. When we look at a problem, we automatically assume it's this huge, huge deal. Classic example. My printer had an update. Printer had an update, was working fine. Cartridges were in there. I was printing stuff. All of a sudden, Epson printer doesn't recognize the cartridge. Take those cartridges out, buy new cartridges, same company. Epson doesn't recognize the cartridge. All right, maybe those cartridges were bad. I'll buy one more set. $20 down the thing. Buy more cartridges. Still didn't work. So now what I've got to do is I've got to go to the company and I've got to say, okay, what is the problem? Let's go directly to Epson. Let's buy from Epson and see if it's an update problem or a printer problem. I talked to Mike about it, and Mike said his computer is doing the same thing. Even when you buy from Epson, it'll recognize the cartridge, but it'll give you a low ink level, but it'll print until the ink runs out. So that apparently is the problem. Sometimes you've got to bring in outside help. But when you get 99 people telling you what to do on something that you want to do, the project no longer becomes yours. The project becomes theirs. And that's when you kind of lose yourself in what you're trying to do. If you want to build a castle out of sand, you have the vision in your mind of what you want to build. If you want to put a 3-room castle in your castle, you've got a vision of where your rooms are going to go. But if somebody else comes in and says this room should go here, and you look at them and you look at them and you say, okay, I'll try that, that's fine. But is it yours then? Does it become your dream? Does it become your vision? Does it become your journey when they start making suggestions? Yes, it still can be, but then you get Joe Blow over here. Well, why don't you add an awning over here and 6 chairs on this side and a glass panel over here? And it starts getting bigger than what you wanted it to be. You had a vision in your mind the entire time. Your vision is good enough. Stick to your vision and what you want to do and how you want to do it. If people can't see the way you see, allow them to see through your eyes by explaining it differently. I can explain something to Kim 9 times. I can say the same thing, and she'll say, I know, baby, I get that. I know, baby, I get that. Sometimes when I come at it with a different approach, after I've calmed down for a while and said, let me try it this way. I know you get it, but this is what's affecting me, and this is where the problem's coming in that I'm facing. It can be in how you present the situation. It can be in what you present in the situation. And sometimes you've got somebody who's negative that wants their outcome to shine over yours. That's where the problem lies of having too many hands on the project. When you know what you want, get people that support your vision. Get people that support your journey. Get people that support your lifestyle. Get people that support what you want to do. Because when you start on a project, you should be the one to finish it. Now, you can have as much help as you can, but it's something that Captain Jack Morgan said to me the other day kind of sticks. When you build a house, the first thing you start with in a house is the framing and the foundation. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have the painters come in the first day and go, all right, let's paint this thing. There's nothing up to paint. It makes no sense to paint the walls if you don't have the walls of the house up and supported in an A-frame the way it's supposed to be. If you don't have a concrete slab for a floor, how can you have a foundation to stand on if you don't have a foundation at all and a foundation poured and set out? You've got to set your post. You're not going to have the electrician coming in on the second day when you're just pouring the foundational concrete or whatever. Your vision can't jump from A to Z without going from A to B. I know in life, people will tell you that may be just too hard. Maybe you should drop it for now. You have permission to walk away from something and come back to it. Remember that. That is your choice. Don't let someone else deter you from what you want to do. Don't let someone else stop you from what you want to do. If they want to help you, let them help you if you choose. Mm-hmm. If you want the help and you want them to be in on it, let them be in on it. But if you don't want the help, you can look. I appreciate the offer, but honestly, I'm going to do this on my own. It may take me a little longer. I may have to figure out how to do it. I may yell, scream, bite my tongue, throw things, break things, get mad at the cat, get mad at the dog, send them both flying out the house, go back out, give them a treat, say I'm sorry, come back in, walk away from it, get mad, knock it over, and start from ground zero all over again.
I do it.
But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to start over and realize that it is a point where, all right, I don't like the way this is. I'm going to change it. I like this, but I'd like to change this. You have the right in your own mind to make up what you want to make up. You can see your vision, but you can also allow other people to see your vision, but just make sure they don't see theirs instead of yours. Because then the help becomes, hey, Christopher, how are you? Then the help becomes, their vision and not yours. The help becomes their project and not yours because they're not doing what you ask them to do or what you want them to do. They're doing what they think they should do. And when you've got four people helping you on a project that think in that way, your vision is not being seen. You've got four individual visions that are being seen, and the project coming out four different ways on four different sides, and it doesn't work. See, a team has to be on the same level. And if a team is not on the same level, it won't work. I don't care if it's HR. I don't care if it's the president. I don't care if it's the secretary. I don't care if it's the man at arms. I don't care if it's the War Department. If you don't have your team on the same level, there's going to be complete and total chaos. People have to know what is going on. They have to be talked with. You've got to write it down. You've got to work on it. You've got to come up with a plan, and then you've got to put that plan into action. When I first started doing the show, I did a show on goals. And I said a goal
Hi, Crystal.
doesn't become a goal until you write it down. Once it's in your head, it's an idea. And you have thousands of ideas in your head. And in that situation, when you write that down and you put it somewhere that you can see it, it then becomes a goal because you can see it every day. You can read it every day. You can look at it every day. And then you make steps to achieve that goal. Well, that may be the project that you're working on. Let's put this in a little practicality. I want to buy a house. But if I don't build my credit and I don't save my money and I don't work toward getting a pile, I'm not going to buy a house because I'm not going to have anything to buy a house with. But if I would have started saving at 25 years old, 50 to 100 bucks a month, and just saved it and let it sit there and forgot about it, I would have had money by now, being almost another 25 years. I'm 43. I mean, you look, there's 12 months in a year. You save $100 a month. That's $1,200. In 3 years, you've got almost $4,000 that you've saved. Okay? You save $150 a month, it goes up. So, I mean, it is possible. It's tough, but you've got to start somewhere, and you're never too old to start. But when you do start, you've got to stay dedicated to the issue, because once you use that money and it's gone, you're starting all over again. I got a safe. What's in that safe is in that safe and not disclosed. That safe don't come open until I go to put something in it. That's life. You've got to have dedication for what you want. You can't just start out in this world with $1 million unless you win the lottery. But you're not going to win the lottery if you don't play a ticket. And then you complain because you don't win, but you don't play. Well, instead of starting with $1 million, start with one and work toward that $1 million. Because when you save it and you put it away and you do the right things and you leave it there, then eventually you can work toward that house. You can work toward that whatever you want to buy, that PlayStation 5, that Wii, that whatever you want to buy, that car. Your first car doesn't have to be an Escalade. Your first car may be a rust bucket with 4 wheels that cries when it starts. But if it gets you to point A to point B, it does what it's going to do. And then if you put money into it and it's only got 43,000 miles on it, 44,000 miles on it, battery dies a couple times, alternator dies a couple times, get a new alternator, put it in there and work with it. And you're going to spend money to make money. But you're not going to save money unless you leave it alone. And for the love of God, don't tell anybody else where your money is. Mm-mm. Because all they going to do is come in one day and go, whoop, got you safe. And you start all over again. Be careful trusting people. People will make you seem like they will help you. They will do everything for you. They will, and then you're out $6,400 and you're going, what the heck am I going to do now? There are people that are there to help you and lift you up. And there are people that are there to knock you down. Now, they may not have intended to knock you down at all. That may not have been their intention, but the road is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. How many of them actually happen to the people that you're with? And how many times are you going to get screwed over before you learn? Don't let them back in there. Because if it happened to you once and then you turn the doorknob and let them in, that's on you. That ain't on me. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm going to say this. We only got a little bit left in the show. Got about 14 minutes. I want to let you guys know, if you have a roommate or if you have a husband or wife, y'all don't got to agree on everything. But don't make it a movie theater debut of why you're right and they're wrong, or why they're right and I'm wrong. You know, it's not about, sometimes it's not about the right and the wrong of the situation. Sometimes it's about the situation itself and the consequences that situation leaves, as long as you don't have the situation where you're hurt or you've been hurt by this person. Put those down before you hurt yourself. And it is a point where you've got to go, look, enough is enough. Sometimes you've got to stand up, figuratively speaking, and say, look, we're not going to let them back in here. I'm sorry. They've done this over and over and over and over and over again. How many times do they get to do it before, you know, we're going to learn? And it happens. It's life. You want to help somebody out. You want to, you know, get them in a better place. You can only do so much for people before they go out on their own and they go, okay, now we got to figure this out. They got us to step A, B, C. Now we got to figure about E, D, and F. And if they don't figure it out, they may struggle, but they're going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And you get to a point where life, it doesn't seem like it can't get any worse. You're up as you're down, you're left as you're right, you're confused, and you're trying to get help, and you're trying to get out, and you're trying to dig, and you're trying to save money, and you're trying to do it right, and your credit's messed up, and this is happening, and you've lost this, and you've lost that. Be thankful for what you've got. No matter how little or how lot, be thankful for what you've got, because it can all end in the blink of an eye.
Sure can.
Everything that you've accomplished in life does not happen to you.
Happens for you.
It happens for you. I hope that this has touched somebody. I hope somebody listening out there. I'm sorry for the internet issue earlier, but it happens. You have to make the best of it and keep going. You have to make the best of what you've got and keep going. You have to push through what you've got and keep going because it is what it is. Problems are going to be there, situations are going to be there. You can keep going or you can stop and watch the rest of the world pass you by as they keep going and wonder where you went wrong. Some people wallow in their own self pity so long that they forget that this is supposed to be just a moment. I've said, you can get there, but don't stay there. You can be angry. You can be upset. You can be mad, but don't stay in the situation you're in because it's not healthy for you. Move from it in a direction forward. You got to find some positive somewhere. Now, there is no guarantee. You can set yourself up with too much positive, and then when it doesn't turn out the way you want, you're crushed because you've set all this up and the dominoes fall the other way. That's why you got to kind of level it out a little bit and go, whoa, 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 hang on. Let's wait a minute. Let's figure this out. Let's make sure we're not up here before we're supposed to be here. And that's not a bad thing. That's not going to the high dive. I'm going to here. I'm going to, no. Come back down. I ain't jumping up there. It's to the point. You got to realize it is what it is. Sometimes you got to start with baby steps, and make it easier. Baby steps, then toddler steps, then child steps, then teenage steps, then adult steps. And I know it's written out there easy, and you want to go to Z before you get to A, and sometimes you want to skip through all. And here's what I've learned. Society is going to do what society is going to do. You can't control what society does. You can only control what you can do and what you can say and how you can act in the situation that you're in. I want to thank everybody that tuned in to the show today. My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 166. For those of you that would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out to me through Messenger, through email, carterdj85@gmail.com. Put guest opportunity in the tagline, and please write a 5 to 7 sentence bio about yourself. Don't write a book because I'm not going to read it all. I don't need to know where you came from, what your blood type is, all that. I'm not interested in all that. I'm interested in the meat of your story. Once you tell me that, we will set up an interview time. I usually do interview times on Sundays around 6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time, depending on what time I have available. Please keep in mind I have backlogged emails, so I have a lot of people that are trying to get a hold of me. So if I don't get a hold of you right away, it's not that I've forgotten about you, but it's just that I have a lot of people behind you. So we are going to have some guests in the next upcoming weeks. Life is short, folks. Enjoy it. Take it moment by moment. Love it. Mm-hmm. Cherish it. Cherish your life, because where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be in the moment that you're there. Embrace it. Negative or positive. Learn from it. Don't run from it. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. Hope everyone has a great day. If you can't be good, be bad, but you be good at it. This is D to the J with the rollaway saying we'll see you next Wednesday for episode 167 of My CP Does Not Define Me.
Bye, everyone.